happy to be here and happy to see so many people in the audience, especially when it comes to AI. So thank you for coming. Title of my presentation is How to Fail with AI and How to Succeed. Now, the latter being the more interesting part, perhaps. Before we get started, let me tell you who I am. I'm Tobias Zwingmann. I'm a consultant. I'm an advisor to companies that only have a small tech team that want to use AI for being more profitable. My current book, Augmented Analytics, will be published in June. I'm a keen writer on LinkedIn, on my newsletter. Please do click on my links and subscribe to my newsletters. Do get in touch. Now, there's two objectives I've brought with me today. First, I'd like you to better understand how to use AI to grow and innovate your business, especially if you don't have a huge technical team. Also, I'd like to help you to avoid the perhaps biggest pitfall right from the start. Why? Because it's so much more fun. Let's get started with talking about how to fail. Everybody loves hearing stories about how people fail, and I'm going to tell you how not to fail. So I'd like to take you on a journey. Imagine you are the CEO of a medium-sized, well-established, traditional company. Good thing you don't have to imagine it because it's your original role. So picture you being at a conference like this one, walking through the halls, and you can see that AI is ubiquitous, really. AI is featuring in all presentations. You'll find it in every product, it's in the news everywhere, and even your competitors that don't even have a proper website can't keep from telling you about what they've done in terms of AI. So once you've arrived there, and you might feel tempted to engage in AI. Congratulations, you've arrived in stage one because you've become alerted to AI and your awareness has been raised. And once this has happened, it's not that difficult any longer to take a look at a couple of facts and figures. Let's talk about OpenAI. They published a couple of statistics recently, which are truly impressive. With ChatGPT, with the help of AI, we've managed to improve our quality by 40%. Our tasks are completed faster by 25%. And honestly speaking, I read a survey where they said that they managed to cut their costs by 95% in customer support. Now, that's something that gives us nightmares if you are not active here, because ultimately, AI may be the panacea to all our problems. But what's even better than solving problems? Well, have AI solve your problems for you. That's why I would like you to take a look at your problems from an AI point of view and try to find out how can we solve our problems with the help of AI, especially, the host of digital problems out there. Don't know, have you ever seen this? The marketing dashboard, thousands of figures, no one knows how to make sense of them, most of them being contradictory anyway. Strange chart, but hey, AI can certainly come in handy here. AI can certainly be the solution. Or what about this one? Your Google ads, which perform rather poorly, which give you the weak leads. I mean, probably AI could be of help here too. But then we are not limited to the digital arena only. We can also use AI for hardware applications for the manufacturing industry. We are at Hannover Trade Fair after all. So imagine that you've gone to quality issues. Products you're delivering are faulty, not good enough, quality is lacking, or there are supply chain problems. Imagine you just don't manage, delivering your products in time, your products being too expensive. AI is the solution. So once you've arrived there, you will probably think, okay, AI is the panacea to every problem I've ever encountered. AI will help me win the day. And once you've arrived at this point, congratulations, you will have arrived at phase two. You've been enthused for AI. And once you are there, you don't want to only talk about AI because talk is cheap, because we've got ChatGPT now, but you want to get traction on the ground. You want to, do something, make a difference. You want to start your first AI project. But hang on. Not that fast. AI sounds somewhat technical, somewhat off-putting. AI sounds like it's got to do with AI after all. And AI and technology, well, we don't like that in our company. just look at our AI people. They're all out of their depth, always busy. So AI seems to be very busy after all. And this is why we've decided to perhaps, let the IT department take care of AI, because they are the experts, aren't they? Now, we've gathered, a certain experience with IT. We know that there's various IT solutions, and wouldn't it be a good idea to have an expert come in? Now, a couple of years ago, someone told me about data scientists. Yeah, data scientists being rumored to be the sexiest job of the century. Wouldn't that be the perfect opportunity to entrust them with the AI issue? So if you've got a scientist in place, still from the last hype, that's a good thing. Or you might as well, hire a new person with that capacity. So let's go for an external data scientist to take care of it, to tackle AI on your behalf. Okay. Now you've managed to hire a new data scientist taking care of AI, pushing AI in your company. So in larger companies, you arrange a meeting with the data scientist after a couple of months, perhaps some IT guys also joining, and you're thinking about, well, how to make our AI project fly. How can we make progress? Now, several proposals being made around the table. Let's hire a consultant, always a good idea. Others might say, okay, let's buy new software. New software will come with AI implemented already. Or the data scientist says, okay, the problem's much bigger than previously thought. Perhaps we just need more people. But honestly speaking, more people? No, we don't want that. We cannot possibly hire more people. We don't even know exactly what problem to tackle. So why hire people in the first place? Not going to work. So we have to be able to make do with the team that we've got. So what are we going to do? We're going to smart up our data scientist, buy a whole lot of books. He can pick and choose, what to read of them. And secretly, we're wondering whether it, perhaps we accidentally hired a biologist, because we've heard that if experts read a lot of books and to familiarize themselves with the new topic, they need time. That's what we've been told, especially when it comes to AI. So, they need some time to learn the new subject matter. They've got to read a whole lot of books, some publications, etc. So give them time. So depending on your organization, you've now arrived at stage 3 months later, 6 months later. But and this is proportional to the size of your company. The larger the company, the more time people are given to take care of a job. So you come back after 3 months, you ask the data scientist, come on, how have you been doing? What about our AI project? And this is the response you're probably going to get, because after 3 months, the data scientist tries to talk you through the project, telling you about things that you only understand 50% of. But two buzzwords keep coming up all the time, and we understand them quite clearly. First, problems all over the place, wherever you look. And the second word is data. Data management, data governance. So these are the words that are usually being bandied about after 3 months have elapsed. Now, quite disappointing. Seems like AI is rather difficult after all. But then we've got this expert in place, and he's not going to give up easily. So what the data scientist wants to do now is show you how things work on your computer. Showing you different software solutions. We don't know what it's all about. We just look at it, and data scientist tells us, well, we've got this regression model. We've got this decision tree, a whole lot of flashy charts. Now, you might think, perhaps it's not that bad after all. Perhaps we've just got to give him more time, which is exactly what we do. So, give them more time. You wait forever on end, until the data scientist or the team that's responsible gives you something in return. And the good thing is they come up with results. They come up with results after 3-4 months, perhaps after 1 year. Finally, they come up with a solution, and this is what it looks like. They hand in their notice because the data scientist has received another job offer somewhere else where the framework conditions are superior to your company, and where people may be more advanced already because, it's always better. Grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And this is why the data scientist, decides to call it a day, one given day, and this is what happened. And this is the end of your AI project. You've got no documentation, no leadership. You haven't learned anything from all the time and money that you've spent in this project. The only thing you've learned is that you're never ever gonna do it again, perhaps until the next hype comes around, and or a new manager comes in and starts everything from scratch. So this is what I've seen quite some time. This is what I'm experiencing in my daily work as a consultant. It's a mixture of these four factors that explain why AI projects tend to fail. It's a cycle of overhyped expectations. It's a matter of undelivered results, together with a lack of clear objectives, inadequate funding, and ultimately, because it fails due to poor integration with the existing business. This is what makes AI projects fail. Now we've talked about failing a lot. Let's now talk about how to succeed with AI. Good news is, it doesn't have to be that difficult. I'm not exactly saying it's easy, but the process itself is not that difficult to manage. So as far as I'm concerned, from my point of view, this process is based on 6 straightforward steps that you should go through in order to use AI for becoming more efficient. And if I may, I'd like to talk you through these 6 steps so that you better understand how to ideally tackle AI projects. First step, and I may be disappointing the ones of you that may not be interested, but there is no way around engaging with AI. Why is that? Because AI is a horizontal technology. It's not going to go away anytime soon. You're going to encounter it everywhere. The AI that we currently have is the worst that we'll ever have. I'm not saying that you have to become an AI engineer, a data scientist, but at least you should develop and acquire a certain basic understanding as to what AI is capable of and what it cannot deliver. It's similar to electricity. We're not electricians. Well, hardly anybody of us, but we know that water and electricity doesn't go well together. And this is, a certain basic understanding that you should also develop for AI. Now, there are certain ways of doing that. I use the so-called 5 AI archetypes, which groups AI by its performance, the things that it's capable of, and the data that it's using. I've written an article, the 5 AI archetypes. Is a rather longish article. Feel free to scan the QR code, but let me tell you what these 5 AI archetypes are. First one's supervised machine learning. Pretty straightforward. What is it all about? In non-technical terms, imagine you want to buy a house. You've received a quote from the broker, square meters, year of construction, location. Now the price, is it too high, too low? Is it the right price? Well, if this were a machine learning problem, you would go back to the past, look at past quotations, look at past reference objects, look at the prices they were sold at, what were their properties. By way of machine learning, you could extract the patterns that would help you predict whether the current price is okay or not. So that's a typical machine learning problem. The 3 at the center, computer vision, natural language processing, audio and speech, are AI applications that deal with non-structured data. Computer vision is about images, videos, computer systems being able, processing images, looking at images, interpreting them, recognizing objects, assets, classifying, categorizing photos. Similar thing for natural language processing, language detection. If you confront a computer with a text, it will roughly be able to extract the gist of the text, translate it, work with it. And audio and speech, something you'll encounter often in business context, converting audio to speech and vice versa. And at the very bottom of this chart is generative AI, which the current hype is very much all about these days. It's about creating new content. This is the key task of generative AI. Having conversations, using it for classification purposes, doing most everything. It's not only about text, but also about uploading images, audio files. So it's a multimodal approach, a multimodal technology. So much for the 5 AI archetypes. And once you've understood what they are, you will, be in a pretty good position already. And you will know where and how to use AI. Once you've done that, you move on to step 2. What are the pain points and what are the bottlenecks? You could also call it what are the problems, but you have to take a more differentiated look. So I suggest you take a look at your own company and just take a look at a part of it. It's a leadership problem, really. Just imagine you've got a sales department that you're responsible for. Now, what you could do is look at typical processes in sales: lead generation, lead qualification, product demos, closing, and account management. Now, what you want to do is take a look at each of the steps and try to identify what the current problems are, the pain points, and what might be future problems that you might encounter later, further down the road. Now, here's a number of examples. Lead generation, first pillar. Current pain point: you may have poor addresses, you may have a high bounce rate, you may be confronted with the wrong kind of leads. Future pain points might be, you being the umpteenth company offering the same product. So going forward, you might encounter a tougher competitive environment. That might be a bottleneck. And once you've done that for a specific department or for a specific process, you will already have worked out a good foundation to move on to step 3, mapping AI capabilities. And this is the most difficult step, where it makes most sense to hire external experts, because this is the stage where you want to identify what are the problems where AI could be a solution. I'm using the so-called AI design sprint. It's a 2-day workshop where we're doing exactly that, looking at processes and trying to come up with the AI capabilities that might be a solution here. So it's a rather structured and successful approach. If you don't have that time, if you're in a rush, if you want to do it faster, you could try and confront it with a simple table like this, a quick hack. And the quick hack could look like this. So you simply, create a table, show what the tabular data are, what non-tabular data are, what are multimodal data, and then map it against the 5 AI archetypes. And then you try to simply fill in the table, trying to work out where AI might be of help. And why don't you simply upload this table with ChatGPT? ChatGPT might come up with a pretty good solution already, because you've defined what are the technologies you want to use and what are the problems and the departments. And with the help of this tool, you could possibly work out a solution that might help get you started. And what happens then is 2 things. First, you can see the technology that's available. You've filled in the generative AI field, which might become helpful in sales. Computer vision, perhaps not that important. And you can also see along the horizontal lines what are the individual process steps that you have to go through where AI could make a real difference. So this is still the brainstorming stage. We're trying to work out what could be done. And once you've done that, you move on to step 4 and select a maximum number of 10 use cases. Not more than that, just 10 use cases where you, in a detailed manner, work out what exactly you want to do. And my recommendation would be, by the way, this is taken from the book I'm going to be publishing shortly. Per use case, just create one PowerPoint chart and try to answer the following questions. What's the problem I'm trying to solve? What's the value dimension? Where and how am I generating a value added, for whom and when? What's the solution dimension? How would I want to solve the problem, theoretically speaking, and what are the data that I need? Do I have them? Do I need data to begin with? Yes or no? There may be AI use cases where data are not required. If you were to have a conversation with a ChatGPT to improve your website text, you only need the text but no other data. So that's a quick start solution. You don't need a whole lot of data for each and every use case. You might start differently if the use case allows for it. You then have to become clear of the stakeholders, who needs to be informed, and what are the resources required, and what are the success factors to assess whether you've been successful, yes or no. And there's one more thing I'd like to leave you with, because that's the mistake that keeps coming up all the time. Most of you keep jumping around in AI projects, dealing with things in the top right corner. AI projects that are highly integrated, highly automated. The chatbot on our website taking care of customer support, automatically resetting passwords. Okay, we might ultimately get there, but today As we speak, we're in a different position because most companies and most of the AI models that we have can only reliably take care of category 1, where we don't have highly automated processes. You may have a co-pilot that is part of your software, but basically these are processes where humans are in the lead and not in the loop. So where humans collaborate with AI, creating content together. And if looking at your use cases, you find that you're trying to automate everything, zoom out, take a step back, try to reduce the degree of automation and try to find out what would be the first step. Less automation and a higher share of human intervention, at least, to get you started. And once you've done that, it's time to get started, to make a priority list and to get started. Now, prioritizing can be done in a rather complicated manner. What's the feasibility of each and every use case? But you could also do it in a much more straightforward way, leaner. So what are our 10 use cases? Rank them by feasibility and by impact without grading them, but simply rank them. This one's more powerful than this one's more straightforward than the other one. And once you've done that, you will come up with a chart which would look similar to this. So here you see the use cases, the upper third of use cases in terms of feasibility, and what are the ones in terms of business impact. And this will already give you a subset of use cases that are easy and quick to implement, that will have a sound business impact at the end of the day. And once you've arrived there, you will have a prioritized use case roadmap, and you will be 80% ahead of most of your competitors, because many companies don't even get there because they simply get lost in the detail only to find that it's not working for them. And once you've worked out this use case roadmap, it's time to get started to build a first prototype. But this has to be taken with a pinch of salt, because you want to make sure that you define clear guidelines, because otherwise you might end up with a fully fledged IT project. I used to refer to it as atomic AI. So please stick to the 2020 rule. The first prototype should not last longer than 20 work days, and it shouldn't cost more than 20,000 euros for the German-speaking world. If this is exceeded, that's already an indication that the prototype is too big. Cut it down and try to, learn fast to get traction on the ground and get started, because there's nothing worse than an AI project where you spend 1 year working only to see that it's not working. This will be rather off-putting. So it's small projects like this that I would like you to focus on. Let me give an example. Here is a prototype I built according to the 2020 rule. Now, here's a chatbot that you can use to chat with your CRM system. Now, in our sales process, you remember from the beginning, you found that your salespeople take way too much time to prepare for the sales calls. Before they pick up the phone, they spend hours online, doing research. Now, with an individual chatbot, what you could do is allow your sales team to chat with the data in the CRM system, provided you've got data in the CRM system. I know that's always a problem. But if you've got these data, you can chat with them and derive information from it. So that's a good tool for your salespeople to see whether it's helpful, yes or no. And, to make them realize if something like this is working, they might go for a similar solution elsewhere. Why not go for an AI process that automatically transcripts the last successful sales call? And this perhaps, is the most important step, which comes at the end. Iterate for the win, because AI is not a software that you can buy off the shelf. It's like learning to walk. Crawl, walk, run. Why? Well, because at the beginning of every project, you're working with a whole lot of assumptions that may or may not work. You don't know how good your AI is. You don't know anything about the quality of your data. You don't know what the user is going to do with them. You don't know how good AI will be next year around. So a whole lot of assumptions. And the only way of managing this complexity, managing these risks, is to approach things iteratively. There's nothing worse than, taking a step back, planning in a very sophisticated manner, because reality will, surprise you. There was a famous philosopher who once said that everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face, and the same applies to AI, because you will encounter this punch in the face sooner or later. And it's easier to, deal with that if you invested only 20,000 euros and not 20 million euros. And that applies to all of you. Now, if you want to do something like that for your entire organization, we're talking about a different thing altogether. Here we would be talking about something that's not only AI data or something like that, it's about culture, which comes with a whole lot of non-technical dimensions. So if you want to enable your organization to roll out AI use cases, you will inevitably end up in a situation sooner or later to start a change or a transformation process. That's at least what I've seen in the companies I've worked for. That implies the human factor, leadership, culture. All of these things need to be taken into account, and you are well advised to come up with a transformation roadmap. But you don't have to start that way, because these topics will take care of themselves. It's perhaps good enough to start with one use case, but at scale you need this process, and ultimately you will have to take a step back and look at the entire organization. So let me recap before I conclude. I believe that these are the key steps that you have to go through to be successful with AI. You have to understand the core AI concepts. You don't have to become an engineer, but you want to understand the basics. Second, identify current pain points and future bottlenecks. Third, map your AI capabilities. Try to do that. And if you can't do it yourself, hire external experts or do an AI design sprint. Fourth, analyze your use cases. Go for 10, perhaps. It's a ballpark figure, still manageable. And after you've done that, prioritize, prototype, and 6, iterate and improve, ideally across the entire organization. Sounds pretty easy, very difficult to do in practice, but then that's the way ahead. And this is how you grow and innovate with AI. I'd like to thank you for your attention, and do get in touch. Here is my newsletter. Thank you once again. Feel free to ask questions. Great, Tobias. This is your applause. Great, the archetypes that you showed. Can I ask you, looking back on your experience, everybody's talking about Gen AI, the iPhone effect for industry. Is this also what you are seeing? Is it like, management is enthusiastic about Gen AI? Is this what everybody's after these days? Is this true? Is this what you're seeing in business and in the industry? Absolutely. I think the first stage is already over. The first phase of the hype, we've already gone through it. Prototyping has started. Use cases have been tried out. People have seen not everything is working, but for certain industries, and I'm doing a lot of projects in the financial industry, it's a true game changer. So industries that don't have a high degree of manufacturing manual work, whereas rather about risk assessment, moving things from the left to the right, this is where AI-driven use cases can come in very handy. And it doesn't take a lot of imagination, to see that this can be successful. Do you sometimes feel that we are overestimating things, and that people might ultimately be disappointed because we're seeing so many generative AI use cases also here at Hannover Trade Fair? But what about industrial grade, and what about their robustness? Well, whenever I present this roadmap, people tend to ask me, why do you start by telling people how important it is to develop a basic AI understanding? I'm doing this because I've seen that whenever you do that, everything will be an AI problem at the end of the day, because AI is sort of a fluid concept, a vague concept. No one knows what it really means, because every digital topic may be an AI topic. And this is why it's perhaps a good idea to try and break down the AI hype and try to figure out what works for you and what doesn't. But the hype is here to stay, and disappointment has also begun to set in. Now, there's also something that they refer to as good old-fashioned AI. You don't always have to use a Gen AI model. Perhaps, some problems can still be solved by way of good old-fashioned AI. I like the overview that you showed, feasibility versus impact. What I do in my presentations, I try to raise people's awareness of the pitfalls in large and small projects, and I, usually encourage them to try with small projects. I tend to say dream big, start small. It takes a certain imagination when it comes to these use cases. Otherwise, people don't even get started. But I think it's always a good idea to start on a small level, especially for larger companies, for larger organizations. I've seen that the hurdle to get started tends to be very high. People like to talk about, doing, pre-studies, feasibility studies, because the risk to fail is very high at the beginning. This is why I am a keen supporter for starting, with small projects, with a small budget, just to get going. And once you've done that, once you've taken the first few steps, take it from there. Think big, start small. Thank you very much. And one more question, talking about Gen AI. How can we create robustness once you've arrived at stage 6, once you're ready to launch into the market? How can you make sure that the product you've created, how to bring it to industrial grade and make it robust, sufficiently robust? Well, as regards Gen AI, there's two pathways. Either you wait for models to become better, and who knows if they will ever be better. Augmentation is one lever, and the other lever is, just to try and limit the size of the problem. There's a customer that we've developed chatbots for, and the original idea for the chatbot was to improve the FAQ feature. And we saw that it was successful. But if we allow the chatbot to do a password reset and other functions, we would also have to accompany that with additional safety nets in order to make it a safe, robust, and industrial grade. And this is, we are not there yet. What about you, Peter? LLMs, are they industrial grade? Yes or no? Large language models? Well, as I see things, but that may be less interesting for you. I think the accuracy of models is key, and how do we get there? That's a key question. Well, as regards LLMs, and that's what I meant when I spoke about Gen AI, they will always come with a certain, creativity. That's a bug that's built in by default, and once you take that out, they will lose part of their capabilities. That's why for many use cases, and that's why I added NLP. Some say NLP is dead, we've got LM now, but that's not true. For some purposes, you need a deterministic output. If you enter 1,000 times the same thing, you want to have the same prediction 1,000 times, and that's the way it is. I'd also be interested in the following. Looking around me in the industry and looking at these startup companies in Germany, it sometimes seems to me as if a lot of these companies are trying to or beginning to build chatbots and LLMs for industry, losing sight of their primary focus, that is creating innovation with the 4 other archetypes that you presented. So it seems like we are losing something. Everybody's, doing business management, chatbots. So is this what you are seeing? Are you also seeing this risk amongst the startup companies out there? Because everybody, fully focusing on Gen AI and no longer looking after blue-collar AI, etc. Well, maybe true. I can only tell you what I've seen. There's 1,001 chatbots, and for the financial industry, it's only about knowledge management after all. But if you look at the entire pipeline involving computer vision, reading documents, extracting tables, preparing data so that they can be used by a chatbot, I think it's not just yet another chatbot. It looks the same, but the underlying pipeline is much more sophisticated, really. But sooner or later, you have to adopt a neutral approach and try to assess what the underlying technology is, and it may no longer be Gen AI. It's a fine line because many companies want to roll out their Gen AI strategy and may not have sufficient Gen AI use cases to support that. So you sometimes have to talk them out of Gen AI to go for other different AI solutions. Sometimes they just need a rule-based, approach, or some companies only need Gen AI approaches together with human intervention. So the share of Gen AI capabilities doesn't have to be that big, perhaps. Looking at around at the trade fair, what are you primarily focusing on? Well, I've got a number of appointments. Well, I'm going to create an automated schedule for people to meet. Are you looking at the Gen AI solutions? Well, I'm going to look at what the hyperscalers are doing. Gen AI 1.5. Quite controversial, right? But rather successful in terms of R&D, because that's the next step towards AI and simulation, multimodal models. With the higher context windows, rack architecture, etc., where people try to get a handle on problems, that's also borne out by the papers that are being published. So if you've got a model that has a token context limit of 1 million or 100 million, well, interesting to see what's happening here. What about the industry? Not looking at that? You're only looking at the hyperscalers? Well, honestly speaking, I was at the industry conference back in February, and I felt that, well, industry and we're going to see robots all over the place, robots with ChatGPT in their brain. But then I saw that most of the use cases are pretty similar to the ones that I'm encountering outside of the industry. AI for documentation purposes, for drafting codes, and not so much, for shop floor purposes. So interested to see what I will encounter here. Jan Countnick, who used to work at Nascens, is self-employed now. He worked a lot for Festo and Trump, and he recently told me that it's true, AI is great, and we are solving problems with it where we didn't know there were any problems before. And the big problems on the shop floor, blue-collar AI, is something that we haven't even started tackling yet. Haven't even dared to touch it. Let's rather do something that's more in the area of white-collar AI. What's your assessment of that? Are we lacking something here? Very difficult, very difficult. I'm familiar with a few projects only. From the wind energy, for example, where they're using AI a lot already for quality assurance purposes. And I've seen that it's not as simple as that, getting things right. Using cameras so that you've always got the same level of illumination, and ultimately you will end up in a curve, and you will realize that the resources that you are spending, is it worthwhile doing it? Now, we've got this shiny new toy in the room, and people are enthusiastic about it, but I think, if we didn't encounter pain points in one solution, we wouldn't be aware of same pain points in another solution. So we shouldn't get distracted. NLP, there's a whole lot of use cases that work very well. Structured data, entities, extracting entities works very well with the Gen AI. When it comes to computer vision, might be more difficult. Yesterday, I looked at a use case at Schunk. Please go to the Schunk booth. What they do is they use Gen AI for data labeling. Very exciting. So I can only encourage you to go to Trump labeling with the help of Gen AI. I like that a lot. So it's a combination of a traditional vision system coupled up with Gen AI taking care of labeling. What's your take on that? Blue-collar AI no longer en vogue? Well, big question. If you are wondering whether your job may be of risk because of AI, let me tell you that the ones of you working with a notebook, all of us working with notebooks, we will be the first to be affected by AI and at risk of being replaced by AI. When it comes to the shop floor, people carrying out manual work and only occasionally work on a screen, I think they are the ones that are not that much at risk. I think it's only logical to start with AI applications where data are, and usually this is, relevant for those working on screens on a notebook, and that's why I believe that they are the ones that will be most at risk of being replaced, whereas we in industry, we will, be using AI applications, and we are not that much at risk of losing our jobs.